Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Opuntia Ficus Indica, which is also often known as sweet prickly pear. Today we're gonna talk a little bit about how you can plant this cacti, how to water, how to care for, what to care for about it, in what way it can be dangerous, and where it's coming from, among other things. Now, to begin with, the prickly pear is a species of cactus that has long been domesticated crops plant in agricultural economics throughout the world. It's most likely originated from Mexico and is the most widespread commercially imported cactus from there. A common English name for this cactus fruit is Indian fig or Barbary fig, cactus pear, prickly pear, or spineless cactus, among many other names. And for example, in Mexico, this plant is called nopal, while the fruit is called tuna. Now, the fig Optuna is grown primarily as fruit crop, also for the vegetable nopales and other uses. Most culinary references to the prickly pear refer to this species. So you should know that if you read about cacti you can eat, this is one of them. Now, the name tuna is also used for the fruit of this cactus and for the opotuna in general, according to a man named Alexander von Humboldt. It was a word of Taino origin taken into the Spanish language around 1500s. Just a little history fact for those people out there that like those sort of things. Now, the plant flowers in three distinct colors: white, yellow, and red. These flowers first appear around early May and around early summer in the northern hemisphere. And the fruits ripen from August to October. The fruits are typically eaten, minus the thick outer skin, after chilling in a refrigerator for several hours. And if you're wondering how it tastes, it's very similar to a watermelon. The bright red, purple, or white yellowish flesh contains many hard seeds that are usually swallows, but it should be avoided for people that have digestive problems. It might be hard for you to eat them. Now, although this plant is mostly grown for food purposes, the fruits are widely commercialized in many parts of the world and eaten raw, and have one of the highest concentration of vitamin C in any fruit. Now, the leaves are cooked and eaten as vegetables, known as nopalotes. They are sliced into strips, skinned and unskinned, and fried with eggs and jalapenos, often served with breakfast. Now, the textures and flavors is like stringy beans. The fruits or leaves can be boiled or used raw, or blended with fruit juice, cooked on a frying pan as a side dish, and a lot of things. Now, when when we talk about growing the plant, it is areas with significant tuna growing cultivation are mostly around Mexico, Mediterranean, or Middle East, even North Africa, where the cactus grows wild and cultivated to the heights of 3.7 to 5 meters or 12 to 16 feet tall. Now, this plant is commonly known to be drought resistant and is usually grown in frost-free areas around the world, including the southern United States. The plant is considered an invasive species in North Africa. There are many factors that limit the growth of the prickly pear, such as rainfall, soil, atmosphere, humidity, and temperature. The minimum rainfall requirement for this plant is around 200 millimeters per year. So as long as the soils are sandy and deep, the ideal growth conditions when it comes to rainfall is around 200 to 400 millimeters. That is 8 to 15 inches in a year. Now, these prickly pear plants are very sensitive to lack of oxygen in the root zone, which means that you need to have a well-draining soil so that the plant can grow better. They are not salt tolerant in the root zones where they grow, so if you have a lot of salt in the soil, it's not very easy to grow it. It might eventually kill the plant. Now, in upset areas such as places where you have 40% humidity for more than a month, it can be very hard also to grow the plant. Now, if the plant is exposed to temperatures such as minus 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, it's very, very hard for you to keep that plant alive. It should never be done for more than minutes at a time. The maximum temperature of the prickly pear is also above 50 degrees Celsius. That's something to keep in mind when you're growing this plant. Now, there are several other factors that are interesting to know, such as similar species. There is another plant called Opuntia monacacea, which is a relatively tall shrub or tree-like plant, usually around 2.5 meter tall. It has flattened and elongated egg-shaped outline leaves, but these cladoses are hairless and have one or two large spines. Most of the arollas are on the surfaces. It has yellow flowers and reddish purple fruit. It's very similar. Now, if we go back to the prickly pear, it is cultivated as an ornamental or as living hedge. It can be used as a medical plant, and the fruit are edible, like we mentioned. Now, in some parts of Kenya, syrup is made from the fruit to consume in a variety of ways, such as a mixture or in a fancy cocktail served to mostly tourists that come around and want to explore. Now, if we talk a little bit about the environmental impact of the plant, it is considered to be a landscape transformer as it displaces indigenous species and department animals. The plant lowers the value of the plaster since it cannot be browsed, and it also impedes the movement of grazing animals. This species particularly threaten large-scale cattle ranching in the arid and semi-arid lands. It has been included in the Global Invasive Species Database, or the GISD, since 2005. It is listed as a non-toxic weed in South Africa and prohibited plant that must be controlled. They serve no economical purpose and possess characteristics that are harmful to humans, animals, and the environment, and in most Australian states. Now, when it comes to managing these plants, there have been many measures taken to adopt for any plant invasion. It will depend upon several factors such as the terrain, the cost and availability of labor, the severity of the infestation, and the presence of other invasive species. Some components of an integrated management approach will be now talked about. The best form of invasive species management is the prevention. If prevention is no longer possible, it is best to treat it like weed infestation, where the small steps are taken to prevent them from establishing. Early detection and rapid response are key to controlling these weed-like species before it becomes a larger problem. Now, when you're controlling, it is generally best to let the infested area become a little bit dense before you tackle it. Now, for the purpose of this talk, we're not going to be thinking about it as a weed, but more like a plant that we enjoy and we want to have at home. So when you grow it, remember that you want to have a well-draining succulents or cacti soil. It should be planted either outside in the correct areas where the temperatures are in the USDA, hardiness zone 8 to 11. That means around 1.12. Now, there are known hazards to this plant, such as minutual barbed glossadius hairs that are easily dislodged when the plant is touched, and then they become stuck in the skin where they are difficult to see and even remove. This can mainly cause discomfort. So if you want to learn how to deal with being stung by a cacti, we do have an article, and I will include that in the description below if you need help with that. Now, the main habitat of these type of plants is where it's very dry, arid, and rocky places. Now, this plant is evergreen, and when you attempt growing it, remember that you're going to want to place it in a southern faced window where it receives enough direct sunlight that will help with growth. Now, although the plant might not seem like much, it is a very fun plant to keep around your house and extremely easy to care for, even for new growers. Like we said before, the most important part is the soil, well-draining soil. Have a pot with a drainage hole so that it can go through smoother and you can avoid the roots from rotting. That's a very big problem that we do not want to have. And when you propagate this plant, we're going to be using grafting technique. And if you want to learn more about that, I will include a link in the descriptions below. Now, I hope that you have enjoyed this talk about this beautiful prickly pear. And if you want to know more, we will have a plant description in the link below with all the key elements of this video. And thank you for watching. If you have not done so, subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and tell us what kind of videos you want to see more of. Thanks, bye bye.